I've been tentacle deep in trash all day!
Silent Line. Right out the gate, this game's already a nightmare. I don't think you can S-rank the first mission under the current conditions. I have to dip to the laser rifle. In order to do that, we need money, so straight to the arena. If you're coming in from the previous challenge run, I'm just gonna save you a little bit of time. Watch this. Boof. Gone. Damn, he's good. He's so good, I'm doing it twice. You just don't need to see this, it's not interesting. Now watch me crash out on my part selection for the next, 5 minutes. Actually, you know what? Nah, this bit's already old. Out you go. All I really did was I sold the left-hand howitzer that comes in the mail, sold the S41 on the back attachment, and bought the ZS4 generator, the UN4 booster, and the XEW90. This mission, oh my god, this mission. This mission stole an hour of my life. I'm almost 100% positive you cannot S-rank this mission with a rifle. They just do not want you to have ammo expenses of any kind. And the final room is such a... In the final room, you can't even describe how bad it is. You are stuck in this little corridor the size of a shoebox expecting to dodge 30 men in this room. And these little turrets have been buffed from AC3. They have 50% more health, and I cannot explain why. And to top it all off, I swear some staff member from Team Ninja back when Itagaki was working there decided to put boxes in the room on top of it just so you couldn't even navigate it. But in all seriousness, they most likely expect you to come in here in New Game Plus and just bomb it with a howitzer or whatever, but you can't really easily get that under this challenge run's restrictions. It's a hell of a first level to be welcomed into. The only reason why this is even remotely difficult is because of the room. The room and the hallway leading up to it. Otherwise, free. But you may be wondering, now we have a little bit of time, why commentary this time around? Oh, a friend of mine told me that my videos have no personality, so I'm trying to amend that. So I'll just like to throw out there's a bonus part for beating this mission under 75 seconds or something ridiculous like that. I can't get that under these restrictions. I just do not see a world where that's possible. Maybe if I grind the entirety of the arena to get enough money, but nah, even then. It just takes too long to kill these guys with the regular laser rifle. But yeah, there you go, first S rank of the game. Really sets the tone, doesn't it? God, I hope it doesn't get worse from here. Turns out, yeah, the majority of the game is like this. My rifle? Nah, can't use that. Banned. Straight to the bin. Silver lining, though, this level is not nearly as frustrating as the first one. So there is that. Simplistic, even. You just need to hop around and avoid getting hit by these MTs. There is a hidden handgun for this level if you beat it fast enough, but I don't remember what the time is for that offhand. It's really unfortunate, too, that Silent Line is so harsh when it comes to its S-ranks and ammo expenses. They just don't want you using shell weapons of any kind, and I think Theseus, as a result, is just less for it because you're just stuck with this one laser rifle, and that's it. I suppose you could ask the question, but what if you use the rifle and you blade things intermittently? I mean, yeah, you could do that, but I'm not going to be the guy that's advocating that you run around trying to blade MTs and not take damage, because, again, ranks are so strict in this game. And I don't know about you, but starting out, you just don't have the mobility you need to effectively dodge stuff, so getting up close and taking risks with a blade, it's not tenable. To get back on the earlier topic of my videos just aren't particularly interesting, it kind of follows this rhetoric of, well, if you're not successful, just make better videos. And I don't agree with that. I don't know about you guys, but I've been on this platform now for a little while now. Something to the tune of 17 years? And I've been uploading since 2010, so 15 years of uploads. My early stuff, mind you, if you look for it, you can't find it anymore because I ended up deleting all but one video, and I was doing remixes of, funnily enough, Armored Core songs. I listened back to it and I realized, ugh, this sounds like crap, but that's neither here nor there. But to circle back on my point, all those channels you see succeed have been on the backs of 100 channels that failed. It's never been something that you can manufacture with any sense of consistency, even. And when it comes to discoverability, anything that's legitimately cool, you can't find. That's just the nature of this platform. So that kind of rhetoric of, well, just make better videos, it doesn't hold water. And it ain't because of lack of due diligence either. I've done a fair bit of research, seeing what works and what doesn't work, looked at all these self-help guides, and I came to the stark realization that a lot of these guides are just grifts in themselves because these channels also can't see success. Because these channels, they can't see the success that they're preaching, and they're banking on the fact that other people aren't either, and they're desperate for answers. They just can't find it. The whole thing blows. That's the end of this mission, though. So if I'm not mistaken, this mission gave me enough money to buy the fleet, but I had to downgrade my generator in order to make that happen. and I had to buy the fleet because this next mission is a doozy, and a lot of it has nothing to do with you. All right, look at these little guys. Look at them. Just look at them. Look at them. If you're not fast on the draw when it comes to killing these guys as you enter the room, they'll destroy the generators immediately just by the way they're positioned. It's obnoxious. And on hard mode, for whatever reason, you cannot lose one generator. On normal, it lets you lose 1 or 2, I believe, but on hard, you can't lose any of them. I've gone in, I've no damage this mission, I've no damage it with no ammo expenses while losing 1 generator. You just get AIDS all the time. Horrible, horrible. And I had to sell my radar too to use the fleet, so every once in a while I just miss one, and it's really irritating. Speaking of the fleet though, I feel like it's a little bit harder to control this time around in this game. Like, you move way too fast. Now, final room. Look at this, man. You will never, ever see me play like this in any video I post on this channel. Never. And yet this mission just demands it. These guys just start engaging you, they blow up a generator, that's it, your rank is gone. So you gotta kite them by doing this whack jump setup and using your starter missiles just to kill them. It's just ridiculous. And then pray to God that this guy works with you. Because you can just miss and then that's it, GG. But that's the end of that mission too. Absolute nightmare level. And then the game insults you by saying, hey, you didn't get paid anything. Even though they did pay you in advance, so it just doesn't show up here. But still, it's a thought. But that gives you an arm. And that arm, it sells for good money. I'm going to take that money to rebuy my generator, rebuy the radar, and a new FCS. As for this mission, it's very free. You just need to shoot these guys coming out of doorways. You can just stay on top of it with your laser rifle, and it's nothing. Like, this is as far as they're going to get. As long as you're on point, just looking at the radar, you're fine. And it gives you a ton of money, too. But going back on my earlier tirade about YouTube, I've tried out a variety of formats over the years. From random clips of games that I'm playing that are titled like every other video you would see, to doing series parts, like those old YouTube walkthroughs. And unfortunately, nothing ever really found traction. Admittedly though, my Transformers Devastation stuff, that did phenomenally well, and I'm always thankful for that. I'm still getting views for those videos to this day. It just boggles the mind even that one of them has close to 100,000 people that watched it over 10 years. It's just, you picture that many people in a room, and it's mind-boggling. But outside of Transformers, this channel has effectively been dead for a decade. If I'm gonna be frank, it's foolish for me to continue uploading to this channel. It doesn't make sense. What I should do if I was a little less prideful and less stubborn and a bit smarter with myself, I should be making a second channel and offloading all these videos over there. The likelihood of that finding success is just significantly higher. Before you crucify me for it, yes, I get it. You shouldn't be making videos with the idea that you're trying to succeed. For me, it's not about that. It's more the idea that I can put all this work into these projects, they just don't get eyes on them. And the reason why they don't get eyes on them is because YouTube itself, recognizing that this channel has been dead for as long as it has been, doesn't give the videos the impressions they need in order to succeed. When you look at my analytics, it caps out at around 2,000 to 3,000, and I get a click-through rate of under 1%. And because the stuff I do is as niche as it is, YouTube looks at those metrics and goes, oh, okay, these videos must be crap, and just does not push them forward. Instead, you get some crazy, wild stuff in your feed like, I don't know, can you beat Resident Evil 4 with only the red 9? Or can you beat MGR with the wooden sword? You know, stupid stuff like that, where you just look at it and you go, Jesus Christ. It's low effort, too. Like, if you have any experience with either of those games, you know how simplistic that premise is. It's like, of course you can do it. And you click on it and just like seeing, okay, what did they do? And it's a cut down video of them abridging their playthrough and narrating what's happening on the screen and adding absolutely nothing to the conversation. And typically whenever they encounter any resistance of any kind in their run, they chimp out and immediately go, well, I need to break my rules for X and Y, and make no efforts in trying to solve the problem that their restrictions gave them. Like, for example, a little while ago, I spotted this Dead Space 2 video that was like something to the tune of, can you beat Dead Space 2 with only the flamethrower? The channel, I can't remember off the top of my head anymore. You couldn't even find him if you wanted to. But he was going through Chapter 8. If you don't really recall Chapter 8, it's that part where you have to defeat those necromorphs in that engine room, and then you fly through this section where you have to stasis multiple things in order to get through it. Before I go further, these 2 parts, they sell for a ridiculous amount of money. I use that money to upgrade my generator, my radiator, and all these optional parts. As for S-rank in this mission, you need to run over a ton of cars. Hit as many as you can. Depending upon the amount you run over, you have 2 fights at the end of it. You can fight a group of MTs and still get your S-rank, or you can fight an AC named Shooting Star. I do recommend you just fight the MTs instead. You don't really need to fight Shooting Star. He's a touch annoying to deal with in this area, but I go for him anyways because I'm very stupid. Back to that Dead Space 2 video. He flew through Chapter 8 flamethrowing stuff, saying, okay, this is possible, this is possible. And then when it got to the lurkers in the 0G section, he pulled out a cutter. Chapter 8 is, you don't even need to engage the lurkers there. And even if you do, if you're forcing yourself to engage them, you could just fly up to them and burn them. It's the most simplistic thing to deal with. And he immediately opted out. It's just insanity. It's not even uncommon to see in those kinds of videos either. You see it all the time. Speaking of seeing things all the time, there's gonna be a save state coming up. I'm gonna be 100% transparent when it comes to all of them. I'm a decent editor, I can hide them, and I could just pretend that they never happened, but no, they did, and this challenge is not easy. See if you can spot it. Right here. Didn't see it, did you? But yeah, this dude took well over an hour to beat. And the majority of that hour was me being a stubborn bastard just trying to blade him alone. Don't do that. Just stay away from him and just kind of plink at him with your laser rifle, honestly. Speaking of the laser rifle, I'm sure at some point the restriction when it comes to ammo expenses was lifted, but I'm not really inclined to go in and try to figure out what that limit is. It kind of set the tone really early on that you don't want ammo, and I'm just kind of going to follow that. I don't even feel bad for using it in this game either, because they buffed health or defenses or something, making it significantly less effective across the board. If you got a problem with that saying it's not in the spirit of the challenge, kick rocks. It's my challenge. I can do what I want. But in all seriousness, though, it's not about being miserable, the challenge. If you feel like you need to tweak something in order to get by because you're just not having a good time, go for it. Hell, skip levels if you don't like them. Recommend it even. It's about having fun first, and looking at games differently. It's not about subjecting yourself to some awful experience. And that wraps up this bloke. As you can see, just hop around, stay away from him, plink at him, he'll go down. Easy S rank. Coming up, a pretty easy mission to S rank, quite the nightmare if you're trying to get the hidden part. Thankfully, hidden parts are outside the scope of this project, so I'm not worried about it. You gotta destroy a bunch of tanks while under ECM, and you gotta make sure that none of your allies blow up. I didn't know this at the time, but there is a way to make the optional part really easy to get. If you move just far enough into this middle hallway section, you can activate your ally's AI without triggering the enemies. It won't allow you to get a really consistent clear without losing an ally tank, but it helps a lot. What also helps is bringing a better radar. I was just really stubborn here, or just stupid. Maybe I thought you needed a better head in order to disable the ECM and not just the radar. I'm not sure what I was thinking here. But when you're doing this, just make sure you don't shoot the green tanks. The desert camel ones are your enemies. And your targeting will just go for both of them equally, like right there. Thankfully, they take like 3 hits to kill. 1 hit in a blade. Gotta hate blading tanks. Please send help. I will say this though, this challenge has made me look at blading things in early 3rd gen in a brand new light. I used to never be the guy to do it. I always ran around with like a left-handed machine gun or a howitzer and just kind of blitzed through the game. Now that I've put more time on it and understand how blading works, it's fucking awful. You can either get a ridiculous amount of damage output or just miss every single time because the tracking's terrible. Tracking's so bad they removed the Nexus in Last Raven. You hate to see it. But that wraps up that one. Moving on to Protect Part Transport, one of my favorite levels. Starting out, go right, don't drive over any of the jets parked, and go inside the hangar, there's a hidden part there. You can also chill out and wait for the jets to fly by. Don't recommend shooting them. They just chip you out, it's not fun. Normally, I would fast forward this section because I'm not doing anything, but I really like scrambling film. So I'll just let it play out for a little bit. Enjoy in the meantime. I gotta say, I utterly adore Silent Line's soundtrack. Anyways, come out of the hangar and engage the remaining jets. They no longer respawn after this point. The next set of enemies after them are going to be these wheel-looking blokes that I have no idea what they're called. They're kind of hard to hit, but they deal very, very little damage to you, so feel free to stand in front of them and just intercept them as they're coming right at you to bypass the lock-on time. You'll also get another hidden part if you make sure that the transport doesn't take too much damage. And you can end the mission outright if you really want to, by stealing the part it's transporting by shooting out the back. Really cool callback to AC1 that. On the topic of Silent Line's soundtrack, as I've said already, I really, really like it. Don't think there's even a bad song on it, and you can't say that about most albums. However, in the 20 or so odd years since this game has come out, I've been upgrading my audio equipment a lot. From the whack mono TV I used to play on as a child, the Turtle Beaches, the Sennheisers, and more recently Hyphaman's Edition XS that I picked up on sale. Really, really good deal that, by the way. But the further into the hole you get when it comes to audio equipment, the more flaws in recordings become apparent. For whatever reason, some tracks have the cymbals on the drum kits panned out entirely to the right. And since image separation has gotten better with my hardware, the more and more it started driving me up the wall. It's gotten to the point where it takes over the entire right channel for me and it just kills the song that's in. One of them being the bloody garage theme. I tried looking around to see if anyone else has this kind of problem and just like is annoyed by it, but no, can't find anything. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to phrase it the correct way to get results. Maybe I'm just autistic about it, I have no clue. It's like, I wish I could stop hearing it so I can enjoy the song again. If you have a problem hitting these wheel dudes, remember to wait a little bit after locking on to get the double lock on. It's really easy to forget, but thankfully it seems like the game no longer grades you on accuracy. From the looks of it, Silent Line favors time and damage taken more. And it would be really sick if we could take a peek at the code to find out exactly how the ranking system works, but, you know, it's been 20 years. If it was going to be done before, it would have been done by now. Man, how is this song this good and it's only present once in the game? Same with these enemies, if I'm not mistaken. It's actually criminal how underutilized some aspects of Armored Core's assets are as a whole. 3rd Gen alone is such a narrative wet dream for any aspiring writer, and From takes the most basic surface-level approach at exploring the world it set up. Does my rag in. But that's the end of this mission. Coming up is a very tricky one. But before that, we need to take a look at the hidden part we got for protecting the transport, being this dual pulse handgun. It's okay, I guess. Sells for close to 100k, so free money. Now, before we go any further, yes, those are extensions in the footage. I broke my own rule, sue me. What I wanted to do is I wanted to see if the part was worth it for jamming missiles. Considering I can't be asked to even remember what it's called, no, it's not. It only jams 5 missiles or so, then it acts as dead weight for the rest of the mission. Wish I could purge it, but my wank control scheme prevents me from doing that. So for this mission, you need to deal with a ton of jets that love to chip you down, and you also need to make sure not to lose too many of the solar panels if you want to keep your S rank. There's a latter half of the mission that has you go down into the facility itself to hunt down an MT that infiltrated it, and everything down there is hostile, on top of the base being absolutely huge and you can easily get lost in it. That is, if you don't know where you're going. When we get down there, I'll show you a trick to it. Getting back to blading though real quick. Good lord, the tracking. When it comes to dealing damage fast, you want to do an air slash into a ground slash, since landing cancels the animation of whatever you happen to be doing. Be it attacking or getting stunned, the works. However, the air tracking might be the worst thing ever. If there's even a slight deviation in the elevation between you and your target, coming down on that target will give you a hard landing and cancel your swing, making you just stand there like an absolute jackass. Trying to hit things going up is an utter crapshoot. It's semi-okay if they happen to be traveling in a perfectly straight line, but add any movement after that and you'll see your AC flying in every single direction possible, like it's trying to do the Konami code at times. Later on in the game, I tried shanking Great White, who was going up and towards me. I shit you not, the game's tracking had me going up, back down, then up and to the right, and then down to the left in the middle of the swing. It doesn't even attempt to help you out. And it really sucks in Nexus and Last Raven, since air tracking is just disabled outright, making blading a right pain in the ass. I'm still entertaining the idea of doing Challenge Run in Last Raven, since Nexus doesn't have ranks as of the time of this recording, but I don't think I can suffer that. Anyways, for this base, just go right. That's how you solve this entire maze. Not your first right though, second right. Don't make that mistake. There's going to be reverse joint MTs and ceiling turrets down here. Focus on going fast and getting to the end as quickly as possible. This mission appears to favor time more than damage taken. There's also 3 hidden parts to this mission. One is in a room near the end of the level. They are missile extensions, I believe. Another is a back unit chain gun for beating a level quickly. I'll be grabbing that in the footage. And the final one is a left-handed dual laser rifle that requires you to kill everything in the base. I'm pretty sure the XCW-90 doesn't have enough ammo to make that happen, and gaining an S-rank may very well be unfeasible under these restrictions if you do try to attempt it. But it might be possible and I just don't know enough to visualize it occurring. Maybe there's this super sick out-of-bounds glitch you could do that trivializes the entire thing that only one person on planet Earth knows. How tight would that be? Mind the 2 MTs in this room coming up? They're super mean how they spawn, and they do love throwing rockets your way just as you open the door. And it's quite annoying that these MTs now take 3 shots to destroy, and the energy weapon damage optional part is so late in the game it doesn't even matter. That extra 100 damage it offers for this weapon really does help a bit. Just that when you get it, you're no longer fighting MTs that go down in a reasonable amount of time. Sucks. That cutscene shows a glimpse of the heavyweight MT you need to frag to end the mission. Thing has too much HP. It takes 3 shots from the laser rifle to destroy its armor and another 3 to finish the job. 2 moonlights is also enough, and strangely, only 5 small missiles to destroy both phases. 3 for the first, 2 for the second. Thing must have a high amount of EN resistance. Here's the back part you get for being swift. Sells for 52k, and you get 2 of them. But now that that's done, the parts shop opened up. I'm gonna grab a moonlight that's gonna sit there for the rest of the game, and an icicle radiator for this upcoming mission, alongside a bunch of optional parts I'm gonna show on the right. I also put on the FST-6 FCS this mission, and honestly I haven't the foggiest as to why. The thing just fucking sucks. Look at the size of that lock-on box, it's terrible. Doesn't even lock on faster than my other one. What the hell was I thinking? Anyways, power plant emergency. The first taste of the nightmare to come. The main part of this mission is by and large free. It's the end that's difficult. Easy to go wrong as well, so if you're on hardware or not using save states, gotta do the whole mission again when it does. The icicle is gonna come in handy for nuking your heat from the rooms on fire. The less time you spend losing AP, the more you're gonna have to throw around at the end of the mission. The hallways, they're nothing special. One shot from the laser rifle is enough to deal with the turrets. Roombas still take 2 or a single blade slash. Make sure to overboost through these areas to save time if you're going for the hidden part reward. Additionally, kill every enemy. That appears to give you more leeway with your AP at the end. You might be able to get away with ignoring the MTs and the flaming areas for the S rank, but that's just pure speculation on my part. There's also another hidden part and event you can grab here. It increases cooling performance for 2 slots by 30%, and it's only really useful in the mission you find it in. Go figure. Here's that radiator in action. Takes a 1k AP drain down to a few hundred. What a godsend. The time part reward is the XCP 150. You get it for beating the mission in under 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Really freaking good laser rifle. 800 damage, 600 range, 150 rounds to work with. A little bit heavy at 1.2k, but you can beat the game very comfortably with that thing. There's also a left-handed bazooka if you defeat every enemy and end the mission with over 50% AP left. I don't get either of them here, mostly because I couldn't remember where the hell that optional part was. I'm too busy slashing boxes. To speak on my optional part selection briefly, I went with the 15% defense increase to shell and EN, 15% return speed, oddly the 12k additional condenser part, and finally the 1500 stability part since you can't get that anywhere else in this run. If I could go back, I for sure would value the energy weapon reload speed part and lock-on speed quite a bit more. A functional 20% increase to fire rate and 50% lock-on time that applies twice would have been huge for increasing this build's outgoing damage. Would have made several sections a fair bit less difficult if I'm being honest. If only these numbers were available in-game. Had to go to blade and grenade.sakura to get them, and the site's entirely in Japanese, but it's a goldmine for information on AC. I'll leave a link to it in the description. The other wikis appear to have been taken over by like fanfiction writers and lorehounds. Very little info. What the hell? Okay, just looking at this is driving me up the wall. I'm gonna give you guys the mall music. 1 second. You think I would have gotten that laser rifle if I didn't faff about like that. Something about me being a moron picking that small lockbox FCS and missing a stationary target got my mustache all riled up. Oh well. But yeah, little information on parts or mechanics. The English sites will give you fan names for enemy units and stats listed for each part and even where to get them, and also blatant speculation on AC pilots' stories, but anything past that is just nothing. Like, I don't need to know if Genobi is related to anyone, I need to know what exactly my optional parts do and how to beat the piss out of the man. Sucks that pretty much everything I listed there is required and clearly best in slot by a large margin. Makes me understand why they ended up getting rid of them all after 4th gen going forward. At the end of the elevator is the first pain point. Save state on the door, by the way. First encounter with Great White. It took over an hour, this one. He's got 5 attacks, they all do a grip. This unit just outright cheats. The energy cannon that shoots 5 times, he can choose if he has recovery frames afterwards, so that's just swell. As far as I know, he's the only thing in the series that can attack with his back weapon and blade you at the same time. His blade attack is, for whatever reason, active for a decade too. I got a clip from the end of the game that just showcases how absurd it is. Skip ahead to the final mission if you want to take a peek at it early. Guides say just stay away and plink at him, but time does not favor you. Plus the plinker isn't exactly the best suited for the task. I subscribe to the idea that less time spent fighting is less chances to take damage, and the fucker is an expert at chipping you down and ruining ranks. I looked around online and didn't really see anyone blading him either, so hopefully this is something different for you guys. People probably don't do it because he can just stun you out of everything. But that wraps up this mission. Rare instance where you can take a ton of damage and still eke out an S rank. Next mission can be tricky, where I removed the icicle, bought the RAWS generator, and swapped back to the normal FCS. Defend New Fortress. Fun level. Good long. Mode ACSL version is such a good song. To start with, don't do what I'm doing here. It's better to instantly hop to the top of the fortress and blade them since they won't attack you and have very favorable movement patterns. For the supposed defense mission, it doesn't seem to have a failstate. The S rank appears to just be damage taken and total kills here. There's a bonus for perfect defense, but that doesn't apply to your rank. I think you need to not let a turret be destroyed before they turn on you to get it. The scariest thing you have to look out for is the waves of reverse join MTs. If you don't dispatch them quickly, they can start spamming rockets your way and ruin your attempt. Kinda like this geezer here who's just being an absolute god avoiding my blade. Be mindful of your ammo as well, since this mission is quite lengthy. If you blade the air units, you should be fine. As for the hidden parts, you get one for beating the first wave quickly, and another for finishing with high AP and little to no damage done to the fourth. I don't even know if the fort can take damage, so you shouldn't get that one every time. While I'm on the topic of parts, at this point you should be very close to printing functionally infinite money. It's super cool that every mission has a hidden part, mind you, but man does it murder the economy outright early on. The whole game is almost rougher in that aspect than AC3 because of stuff like that, and the outright power creep from the new parts. A lot of missions just focus on being mean more than having an enjoyable time for the player. You can almost see From's nasty side that they love showing with their later titles present here in the mission design and the rank rating. This studio really does like its difficulty going forward. It's funny though, their games got this illustrious reputation for how hard they are. I never considered the games as such when it came to just beating them. I get it, I know, difficulty is subjective. Some aspects of games can be considered hard to some and trivial to others. Even something like becoming proficient with the controls on these early AC games without the analog patches can be considered difficult. On that note, bless the guy who did these patches. Seriously. He single-handedly opened up every AC game pre-Nexus to a brand new audience, and it's one of the coolest mods for a game I can recall in recent memory. However, your perception of difficulty is also colored by context. I'm a bit older, so mine comes from some really cheap shit. If you're coming from Battletoads, or Ghosts and Goblins, or Ninja Gaiden on the NES, you're not going to think Dark Souls, for example, is a super hard game to beat. Inversely, if you're coming from, say, Stardew Valley or Minecraft, or any game really that's not designed to just blatantly steal your money, Souls can become this monolith of challenge that seems almost insurmountable. Just moving around in a 3D space for the first time can be off-putting, and it's easy to forget things like that. Once upon a time, Super Mario 64 was considered a hard game. Now, kids game. On top of context, goals are also important to consider. For example, if your goal is to just see the clear screen alone, shmups are some of the easiest games out there. Just credit feed until you win in 20 minutes or so. Pay-to-win mechanics, if you will. Add the stipulation of a 1 credit clear, suddenly they're nightmare games requiring hours of practice and dedication. You could spend months practicing in some cases. Look at this challenge run even. If you're doing this on emulator, it's not too bad in the grand scheme of things. A couple places can be points of friction and require falling back on a save state to grind out, but they can be figured out in around an hour or so. If you don't mind skipping levels just to see the credits, you can even omit a large amount of them outright by taking the mission and just instant abandoning. Now do it on hardware with no save states. A good number of these levels become utter nightmares of random hell you have to suffer. They got very long sections that can go wrong in a split second, and very challenging end bits that got no problem with screwing you over. Never mind that retrying is just annoying. You pretty much have to restart your console and load a save every failure on New Game. It's legitimately difficult this run. Add on bonus objectives as well for all hidden parts, you could be here for months grinding on some of these missions. Difficulty is what you make of it, and it's about context and goals. I know that games these days have just gotten easier and easier, but you can still make most of them incredibly difficult with very simple tweaks to how you play and what your end goal is. And it's incredibly sick how doing so can let you view these titles in new lights. I'm willing to go so far as to speculate that doing so may assist in alleviating this feeling of burnout that people are having with video games as a whole. If you always take the path of least resistance, you frequently miss out on designs and challenges that, while unintended, can still be really interesting to solve. I'm super glad that I can go back to these older titles and fall in love with them all over again when I view them from these new perspectives. It's been quite rare so far that revisiting fond memories has soured my thoughts on a game. I have to dig deep into these super rudimentary platformers in order to get that feeling of just disappointment. Speaking of disappointment, what the hell is going on here? Oh my god, you hate to see this. Getting squirrely with the blade. I couldn't even replicate slashing my way to the top of that MT again if I tried. Of course, in the moment when I'm doing these challenges, it's the worst thing ever and I want to die. I'll make it sound like the game stole my son, took a shit at my door, and I'm here to hunt it down. Things are just different when you're boots on the ground, in the trenches, struggling. When I'm out, I can look back and go, yeah, that's some good shit. And that brings this mission to a close. A little long in the tooth, could have been 2 minutes shorter. Here's the 2 hidden parts, a 3-shot burst rifle and a left-handed sniper. Infinite money at this point, so but 140k if you need it. Right, here's a question for everyone watching. How did this level get past quality control? For those who don't know, this is a defense mission where you are tasked with holding a position at one end of the map and the enemies spawn on the other. Game says to stay your ground, but nothing stops you from going over to the spawn area. The AI is hard-coded to ignore everything and move in a straight line towards your allies. Nothing can break this script. Outside of the first attack I tanked with my face, the mission is just this. 7 sets of enemies in groups of 3 that you shoot in the back and nothing else. Did an intern's son make this level and the board needed X amount of levels in total and so they just threw it in? It comes off as unfinished. There's not even a music track that plays on this level. It's just odd. You know what? I won't make you suffer this tedium, so here's the end of it. I'm all for showing your work, but that's just such a nothing burger of a level. You get 2 parts for doing it that you always get, a laser rifle and a back-mounted howitzer. I had to do a double take for how much it sells for. 143k, and you get 2 of them! Like the economy wasn't screwed up enough. Ooh, here's a really cool short and sweet level. Drop everything but the moonlight and use the UNA booster for efficiency. Overboost twice to reach the front of the train, then stand in front of it and let it push you. Blade it 7 times and the mission's over. Is there a rule of 7 I'm missing or something? The number doesn't repeat ever again, but it's present twice back to back. Must have been a coincidence. There's a hidden part somewhere in this tunnel, but you usually fail if you try to go for it. Pretty cool level though. More games need more train levels, man. They're so cool. Oh yeah, there is a hidden part here. It's a left-handed shotgun. It doesn't seem particularly great, and the game did just give us like 300,000 the previous mission. But hey, another 70k I guess. Now for Infiltrate New Fortress, the very same one you were defending not 10 minutes ago. It's a multi-parter and every hidden part in it is really good. The stealth section has the best missile extensions in the game, the helicopters don't hear sound, and you can just destroy them if you're so inclined without failing, as long as you're quick about it. Don't fly too high up or you'll auto-fail the mission. The second section has no hidden parts, but the bonus mission has another 2, the highest damaging blade in the game, and a really strong FCS that's probably also the best in the game. Couldn't tell you why so many great parts are found here, but it's appreciated it's somewhat early on instead of near the end. Due to the way AC3 and Silent Line handles ranks, whenever you get a follow-up mission on new game, you always default to an E rank on the mission list, regardless of how well you do for the first part. To get around that, I'll use a save state to decline the follow-up and check the rank, then go back and take the extra mission. Otherwise, the stealth section is whatever. That is a route there that is total stealth if the game cared for that. Part 2, short and sweet. You get to fight these mini AT-AT knockoffs. Real on the nose this one, plus the base turrets. The front cannons on the AT-ATs are damaging, but they turn like a boat, and their missiles look scarier than they actually are. Tracking on them is really bad. 3 groups of these guys, just shank them since they're so tall, but not really worth shooting at. They almost look like short AT-ATs with bell bottoms on their legs. This is the only place in the game you encounter them as well. Wouldn't mind fighting them elsewhere instead of all the reverse joints and new types they run into later on. They're quite cute too, I mean just look at them, they're freaking adorable. Otherwise, not much to say on this bit. Very simple and straightforward. One of the better filler missions in my opinion. I do wish we got more filler missions like this one instead of what we get later on. It's much more interesting to fight a group of enemies you only see once conceptually than shooting like a bunch of missiles that come at you slowly. Here, I'm checking the final rank of the first mission with the save state, confirm that it's an S rank, and roll it back to take the extra mission. And there you go, S rank. I forgot to mention, I had a save state on the loading screen for the second zone, and I have another one here for this bonus mission. Takeover New Fortress has you fight 2 ACs, Venom, a reverse joint with a sniper, and Utopia, a tank with MGs and missiles. You get Firebird as a forced consort, but it's too annoying trying to kill him before he does anything meaningful. The tank has mobility problems. Typically, tank ACs can be frustrating to blade since they can low profile the generic swing when moving about, but this one is stationary enough to be able to dispatch it in seconds. When you finish the tank, take your time to go up into the rafters and grab the FCS up there. The RJ, on the other hand, likes to jump around. Don't meet him at the zenith of his jump. The tracking tends to go haywire up there. Instead, meet him low to the ground if possible. He stuns real easy as well, so air/ground/ combo will do work to his health pool. When they both go down, you get enough time to slash the heat pipes and get the final bonus bar without having an impact the fight. And here is a case of why I do not like consorts in this game. Friendly Fire stunned me out of the slash that I was going to do to kill this guy. Hate to see it. That said, Friendly Fire is going to be very important later on. Otherwise, first taste of multi-AC fighting in this game. AC3 only really hinted at it at the very end of the game with the 2 overweight ACs that just struggled to leave their crib. So it's nice getting some semi-competent designs to go up against in the story mode. Even if the game is kind of addicted to kneecapping these ACs outright when you fight them by yourself. I get why they do it, but it's still annoying every time. But effectively, this mission is over once you destroy that second AC. Pretty simplistic S rank to get. And here are the parts. Get a right-hand grenade launcher that does 1.5k. The blade that does a touch more damage in the moonlight, but it has basically 0 range, so I never use it. Best missile extension in the game, and the SRA-02 FCS. Thing is a utter beast. Wide and shallow box, fantastic range that's further than most weapons can even reach, and a great lock-on time that's only marginally slower than what I use personally. Use a save state at the start here since having to boost over and wait got really annoying. Defend Lawdas Factory, the first nightmare. When you mention Silent Line to people, they think of this level. It's friggin' hard too, and while being 3 minutes long, it feels like an eternity. This level can be quite challenging to S rank even when you're not doing a challenge run on it. You need to defeat a large number of enemies in total to get it, dodge orbital bombardments that if they hit you, do enough to basically knock you out of the S rank outright. Then fight a Moby Dick 2 Judgment Day at the end and defeat it quickly. The respawning air enemies are incredibly fast and annoying to hit, and the 2 reverse joint respawns on each side do nothing but shoot missiles at you in hopes of ruining your day. They're very good at it to boot. The missiles are fairly irritating to dodge. Both enemy types take at least 3 shots from the XCW-90 to put down. Great White gets his full AP value at the end. The one saving grace of this level is you get 3 resupply trucks that give you iframes when you use them, but I have no idea if interacting with them reduces your rank or not. I wish I could say there was a way to cheese the AI, but the flyers do whatever the hell they want, and while you can stand on top of a reverse joint spawn to stop it from populating, you need to destroy enough for the S. Flyers alone are just not sufficient. Then, to top the bullshit cake, Great White can cheat as usual, boomer turn you with the energy cannon and hit you while you're behind him with it, or my personal favorite, fly out of the map outright and just waste your time and ruin the rank that way. Chances are, by the time you get to him, you got chipped down enough that you can't really afford to get hit by him at all, and with this challenge run, you're bound to get hit by him at some point or another. Your rank rests at his mercy and willingness to work with you, and he's a bellend who hated your family for generations now. Total nightmare level without save states. Having to do 3 minutes of combat, trapped in endless turn wars with flyers, and not get whittled down just to get a bullshit enemy at the very end is incredibly mean. It's quite the ass to do single segment, and yeah, it's trivialized by save states, but Great White still took 2 hours to get a clear that the game liked. For single segment would take ages to do. Just because the emulator lets you set your own checkpoint doesn't mean suddenly it's easy, and I really dislike it when people dismiss difficulty while mashing quick load over and over and over. If you really want to make the argument to use every tool at your disposal, then just turn on Cheat Engine, or better yet, download a save that has 100% clear and just turn it off. If you really want to go that far. It sounds hyperbolic, but I just want to take it to its logical conclusion. Set some limits and have some restraint. I don't think that's too much of an ask. And disclose when you use save states. Transparency is never a bad thing. No one's going to look down on you for using them. Just say that you did. It's only a problem when you post stuff online and then lie about it and say that you did it single segment. I don't consider it cheating at all to use them. By the way, save state on the bridge. You can stop the unit from spawning by standing on this platform here, but I don't recommend it. He's just way too volatile up here. His AI can do whatever the hell it wants and you have no control over it. Instead, I recommend having him come to you and trying to get him stuck against the wall. I had a really clean kill doing this. I'll put it in the top right corner, but I couldn't submit it because the rank was only an A. God, I would have been sick if I got that. This footage might imply that you can get behind him semi-consistently, but no, that's not the case. He just chooses whether or not he lets you do that. There'll be times where he looks you dead in the eye the entire fight and never breaks eye contact. Others, he's like a lost kid in an amusement park and just can't get on target. To think that several of the nightmares in this game are from this one unit. When you can't burst it down in under 3 seconds, you see a dirty moveset and stacks of bad design compiled on malicious placements just to ruin ranks. If you put these monsters at the start of the levels they're in, it wouldn't be nearly as much as a deal. But by putting them at the end and not having any checkpoints in your game, it's just foul. Thankfully this room is somewhat large so you get a lot of space to fight them. It looks simple here, it's anything but. That took a very long time to get. So you just wrap up the mission by grabbing the hidden part in the silo, and then kill the last reverse joint. I had several attempts when I was fighting this last MT and he ruined the S rank. How annoying is that, just doing the hard bit and then losing at the very end to something really trivial? Gets my blood boiling, that. There's just something about the way you come down and attack him that just leads it to be really squirrely and awkward at times. But that brings that to a close, thank God. Here's the laser rifle I got from the end of the mission. Guides say you get a laser backcannon for defeating at least 12 enemies. I blew up far more than 12 and I didn't get anything, just the laser rifle. And my AP wasn't particularly high either, so I don't know what that's about. Eliminate Rioters now. For whatever reason, the start of this level reminds me of Die Hard Arcade. I can't piece why though, it just does. This mission's really cool conceptually. Ascend the skyscraper while under a time limit. Something about towers in literature and games always rubs me just the right way. The level introduces the new type MTs. They look like the ones you would counter in AC4 and FA. I hate them something fierce. 5 shots to take down is just way too much. But at least they're in close quarters for this one. Always skip the elevators, it's faster to go up on your own. If you complete the mission before 2 minutes 30 seconds on the countdown, you get a bonus part. It's a left-handed assault rifle. I couldn't do it since struggle at the end is a bit of a pain, unless you get stuck. There's another box on the 3rd floor, and didn't opt to get it this time around. Struggle, the AC, is really annoying. She has heat weapons that overheat you near instantly, and it's hard to blade her since she stuns you frequently. Not a lot of health on her to make up for it though. She is, on that note, quite fast though, so she's kind of difficult to blade, and there's not really a consistent way to make her stuck. You just kind of have to re-roll over and over again until she does. Speaking of re-rolling, there's a save state right here. Presenting the Lady of the Hour. Because she's a hovercraft, you can see she's very fast. Like, I can't even keep her in the lockbox, that's how quick she is. And I'm already on fire, so you just hear that lovely sound. But she got stuck, so just kind of blade her over and over again, and that's it, GG. You just damage race her at this point. Not pretty, but hey, it works, and I still got the S rank at the end of the day. Going from one of the hardest missions in the game to a very lax one is a bold choice for pacing. Pacing as a whole in this game is just kind of rough all around. They have really hard missions into really easy missions into hard, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. And I tell a lie, I actually did get the left arm part, and here's the rifle. It's, money. Gonna be honest, never been fond of the triple burst rifles in this game. Equip the SRA-02 for this level. Drop everything but the laser rifle and put on a good radar. Gonna play some tower defense now. Just sit on top of the airport and shoot some slow-ass moving missiles. Other case of me wondering how this got past QA, but I'll admit, it has more going on to it than that other mission at least. The radar will let you know which missiles are closer to you, and it will identify them before they're in lock-on range, so just look at the top right corner of your screen and twiddle your thumbs, I guess. Ooh, this is quite topical for the difficulty talk from earlier. A good friend of mine is currently coming up with a list of sections in games that are insanely hard to no damage alongside his community. Hardest difficulty, no other stipulations. I'm thinking this list is quite interesting to ponder. The big ones are on there: God Hand Death Shudder, God of War 2 Loom Chamber, any Test of Valor and Ninja Gaiden 2, Double Grad and MGR, the usual suspects. Mind you, I don't agree with Double Grad making that list, but I have brain damage from that fight, so don't trust me on that one. But it also has fights you wouldn't expect. Like Lost Planet 1's Chapter 2 boss, you're stuck in this room full of hit scanners and several VSs that move about. Imagine trying to no damage that. COD 4's Mile High Club comes to mind as well, since flashes in that game are more of a suggestion than a useful tool, on top of the level being really hard to begin with. The Pit in Vanquish also gets brought up. You know, the one in 4-3 with those Romanovs and the tank capping the encounter. The Uncharted games on Crushing even, though I don't have that much experience with those outside the second game. I don't even know what I would nominate for that list. I fear I'm too close to the source on that one, unless it's some uber nightmare like the Loom Chamber. I look at it and go, it's not too bad really. So I pass the question on to you, the viewer. What section in what game would you put on the list of pure nightmares to no damage? Speaking of things that can be made hard, eating salad. Shit's a fucking chore, man. Show me a man who's happy after eating a salad. I'll show you a bridge I'm selling because he is a liar. It's like raw stir fry, just a bunch of random bullshit thrown together that doesn't really work. It's food that goes with food. You spend all this time trying to make it taste decent, but by the time you manage that, it's no longer healthy for you. You should just eat something else. Who the fuck came up with this bullshit? I'm telling you, if you take a salad, put some oil in that bitch, and fry it, instantly high tier meal. On its own, low tier garbage. It's trash and it's dumb to smoke. Much like this mission, not every gimmick level needs to be exactly 3 minutes FromSoft. You could have totally cut this in half and it would have been fine. As is, this just drags on. What I would have done, I would have doubled every missile on the screen in half the amount of time you would have to be here, and it would be far more interesting than whatever the hell this is. You can't look at this, seeing me shoot a singular target one at a time, and think that's engaging. It's just not. It's fucking boring is what it is, and it's almost insulting to the player's intelligence. Well, that brings that mission to a close. You get a bonus part for beating it without having the airport take too much damage. It is a Karisawa alternative. It's really good when you can't put on the full-size equivalent, and it does good damage still. I tried fiddling around with a different set of optional parts here. I experimented with the lock-on speed and missile display on the radar, with the level that has no missiles in it. Go figure. Anyways, second nightmare. Woo! Not 20 minutes after the first one! Admittedly, this one is a nightmare due to the restrictions more than anything else. You get an enemy AC that's armed with a rocket launcher and a small handful of helicopters to shoot down. Like the previous solar panel level, you can't let too many of them be destroyed or you lose your S rank. The problem is the AC. He jumps a ton and moves around in the air, so you can't blade him consistently. Additionally, he, again, has a rocket launcher. Any period of vulnerability he may have, he can just shoot you with it while he's in it, and that stuns you every single time, giving him a second layer of defense against blading. He's finally a right pain in the ass to get behind, giving you this perfect storm of an enemy that you have no way to do meaningful damage to. The XCW-90 just doesn't do enough damage in a short enough amount of time to matter. The longer this mission goes, the faster you lose your rank due to repair cost. This twat took over 2 hours to put down, and if it wasn't even something I did, I ended up getting super lucky and had the base turret come online and nail him as he flew past. It's pure luck. It's pure luck, and that's why it's nightmare number 2. And here's that moment of just sheer luck and happenstance coming into my favor for once. This never happens. Jumps into it multiple times, and that just does so much damage, it did the majority of the work for me. I mean, look at that. Made it look effortless, but no. Absolute nightmare. Hellish level. 1 out of 10, would not recommend doing it ever again. Don't think I could even replicate that if I tried. All the guides say it's easy too, just use missiles or just Kurosawa him. I don't have access to that, so fuck me, I guess. You get these back chain guns for beating the mission with only 3 or less solar panels destroyed. Not even worth that much money either. Now on to nightmare number 3, but it's entirely optional this one, so I don't really count it. Still needs to be listed though. I put on the SRA-02 for this mission as well. You're gonna just stand up here and shoot some targets and play some aim training. If you go downstairs and try to fight both ACs, welcome to nightmare number 3, go with God, my friend. If you stay up top, you can just casually shoot the squares and get your S rank that way, and you won't even remember this mission after you're done with it. I spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to destroy those two. Timetable, the quad, is the easier of the two. Go around the back and blade him in his ass, and he drops like a sack of bricks. It's Firebird that's the issue. Your former ally is a bipod that jumps a ton. God, where have I seen this before? So he's already hard to hit. He takes over 10 Moonlight Slashes to blow up for some godforsaken reason, and his blade is just straight up scary. Watch it shave off close to 2k AP in this clip over in the top right. The biggest problem with him is that he's just faster than you. Unless you get him stuck, you're going to end up chasing after him the entire exam and have no time to kill him. Never mind time to hit the targets and still get the S rank. While you're down there, both of them can be railing you at the same time and chipping you down and just taking chunks out of you. It's not ideal fighting them. Not on this setup. I couldn't come up with a solution, so you're seeing this here. While we're difficulty adjacent, might as well bring this one up. I spotted a link to a Reddit thread over in the Zone of the Enders Discord that asks, what's the hardest action game? But it stipulates that it has to be on normal and no re-releases. What an utterly bizarre question to ask. Firstly, because basically no one in the thread read the OP at all. And secondly, action games are typically not that hard on normal. The usual Rogues Gallery just doesn't even make the list anymore. God Hand at level 1 is quite easy, just grovel your way to victory. Ninja Gaiden 2 on Acolyte is just brain dead, even if Team Ninja's reductive history annoys the shit out of me by making Ninja Dog the new easy. Even if you include Warrior, it's still not bad. The original release of DMC3 doesn't even count because it just had everything shifted up by 1 difficulty. What games can you even nominate for that sort of list? I'm at quite the loss for it. Maybe you guys have some good ideas. It's been long enough since I penned this question in that I think the poll should be finished by now, so let me go check that. From the looks of it, they settled on a top 3 of Urban Reign, God Hand, and then Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1. Man, this is why I don't go to Reddit, man. This question was stupid and this top 3 is equally stupid. Urban Reign's not even a fucking action game, it's a beat 'em up. God Hand sure has the potential to be really hard, but if you're playing it on normal and talking about difficulty like that, you can just make it as easy as you fucking want because level 1 is just always there. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1, I'll give it up a little bit, but it's normal. Don't mash, you're fine. Warrior in that game is like such a non-entity. Breaks their own rules too because it's a re-release. I'd put PS2 Shinobi on there above any of those games because that game's normal is quite challenging. It's hard to grasp in places too. And there's pretty much nothing you can do to make it easier on yourself. I only think one person even mentioned it and no one agreed with them. Or even Vanilla NG3, hold one of those loading screens and tell me you still have the will to live. This is a really stupid idea to put in the script. If I wasn't out here stalling for time, I would just admitted it outright. God damn it, man. Nor assure you we need him to bring up Bujingai. That game needs more representation in the grand scheme of things, even if it drives me up the wall every time he talks about it. Oh hey, look, the mission's finally done, thank God. Way too long. Shooting the targets, you get a pair of heavy arms. They supposedly enhance blade attacks. I don't believe, though. They're really heavy, too. 1600 weight is ridiculous. Tried experimenting with a different set of optional parts again, this time going with the additional energy attack and missiles on the radar again, because apparently my ass was so stupid he didn't realize that the 25% reload speed was just floating about for 1 slot and would have been really, really nice to have. Data retrieval. For whatever reason, every enemy AC on this map suffers some serious debilitation. It's true in AC3, it's true again in Silent Line. You fight 3 enemies this time around. First AC you fight is going to be Moonsault after the elevator stops. It's a bipod with 2 laser rifles and back boosters. It hard lands constantly and only has 1/3 the AP it has in the arena. A small handful of blade hits is going to be enough to put him down for good. This isn't a save state, I'm just skipping ahead for brevity's sake. The S rank for this mission seems to favor time more than damage taken. You can take quite a bit and get away with murder pretty much. I don't like this fight though against this AC. See him just get stuck in the ribs of the elevator shaft, you go down, he goes up, it's really awkward. I don't like it. They even had to make him really weak in order to make this fight go by quickly because it's just not good. I'm gonna skip ahead one more time, this one is a save state on the door. The second AC is Bypass, a returnee from AC3. Dual chain guns on the back, handgun and green sword with op eye on hover legs. He has full AP from the looks of it, but the room he's in is his personal hell, as he gets stuck on collision like it's an old Call of Duty at high frame rate. He went into the controller's room and just let me shoot him with his laser rifle and hit him with a blade a couple times. He's weak to EN, strangely, not much to really speak of. So far, both ACs lack the damage potential to even ruin the S-rank. The final enemy drops down from the ceiling and is Clover Knight. Has the same laser rifle we do and uses an energy shield in the offhand. I think it's like Moonsault and also has 1/3 its AP as its arena counterpart. The poor thing went down in 3 slashes, one of them with the shield active. I get that fighting these ACs at full strength would have made this mission nightmare number 4 for challenge runs and casual playthroughs alike, but still disappointing 2 of the 3 targets were that weak. This mission also marks the final time we're returning to the old Laird in this game. What a shame they never bring up these locations ever again in the series. I don't even think they mention the second Laird going forward. Like, this game just never happens. Here's the handgun you get for completing the mission really quickly. I didn't get the other one because it requires you to end with high AP, and I just can't be asked to get it. Search Vilius Laboratory. This one's a bit of a conundrum. Has a bonus mission attached to it, but in order to get it, you're most likely going to sacrifice your S rank on the first part if you are doing these restrictions. It requires you to go very fast through the level, but doing so opens you up to a ton of damage. I'm sure it's possible to get it under this rule set, but I'm not really inclined to spend that kind of time on this one. As a compromise though, I'll show the S rank run, then another one I just go fast to get to the end. As for the S rank, it wants you to take low damage and pretty much get a full clear of the level. Nasty combination considering the enemy composition. You get these drones placed about by a dickhead that nail you with rockets and do a grip. These long-armed MTs placed by that same dickhead that like to nail you with rockets again. Then combinations of these units in very small hallways, body blocking you as they continue to nail you with rockets. The long and short of it is that a dickhead made this level, and I hope he gets cursed a rod for the rest of eternity. It's just not fun, jiggle peeking with the 40-foot tall robot in hallways the size of a shoebox. Nor is it opening doors just to get hit in the face with rockets with no possible way to avoid it because there's just no room. It's not fun. The one saving grace is these rockets don't do that much damage, but it adds up over time. Coming back to Silent Line really does highlight how silly some of these missions are. Casually, I always liked Silent Line more. Hidden parts in every mission made the game feel like there was always a secret to be found. The expanded parts selection gave the impression that there was such a diverse amount of stompy robots I could build to go blow shit up with. But with this challenge run and a more design-oriented viewpoint, my conclusion now is that the missions are just not as good in most cases. The gimmick levels are longer and somehow less interesting to play, the enemy roster is underutilized with too much focus on the reverse droid MTs and the advanced MTs, with AC fights sprinkled sparsely in between. You get cases of the devs adding encounters that just serve to cheaply deal damage to the player, like with these slow opening doors and the rocket MTs just staring dead-eyed at it. I can't even think of an instance where From does that in AC3. Cheapest that game got was the turrets hitting you outside the render distance and destroy gun emplacements, in regards to mainline progression anyways. Silent Line does that same trick in Mission 2 with the MTs. The boss unit is reused 5 times and remains entirely unchanged for the duration. Another weapon set would have done wonders for Great White. The presence of more AC fights is really appreciated though, I will say that. Silent Line also wastes your time less with its missions. It doesn't have you waiting around for enemies to become vulnerable or for a transport to reach a door, so that's quite nice of them at least. The arena is heavily expanded, even though I show basically none of it in this video. More dudes to fight in it, and a bonus arena where you get to pick an NPC partner and do team battles with them. It's really cool. Additionally, the enemy count is larger than what it was in AC3, and the part shop opens up quickly enough that you don't feel stifled for too long in the early game. Kudos to From for not falling back on the large MT as well. You only fight one this time around, and it's infinitely less obnoxious to deal with. The bonus parts are also really sick to get. There's enough of them handed to you that a no-shop run could be really interesting to do in this game. And I suppose you could say that the S ranks are a lot tighter to get, and that makes it a little bit more interesting to go for them, but I think that this game is just way too mean first, rather than being fun to play. So it's kind of miserable in places. I'm sure the meanness doesn't even affect anyone casually. Speaking of cheap bullshit though, look at this fucking room, man. 3 of these bastards just body blocking you and you can't pass them. And they just shoot rockets and stab you through their allies as they're blowing up. I'm like, what the hell is this? Come on. You don't need to be that cheap. As for this level's hidden parts, there's a left-handed pulse rifle at the bottom of a pit that I neglect to get, a left-arm rocket if you clear the entire map of enemies, and a back unit rocket that's tied to going fast in the extra mission. This is another instance of why I can't explain there's a thematic theme for all the hidden parts, but hey, I mean, it's pretty neat. I do wish they had more parts for your chassis as bonuses though. You get weapons for days, radiators, and FCSs, but there's only one head part you can find in a level, no core that I'm aware of, and no legs this time around either. Just one pair of arms you get in the mail. There's no generator either, if I recall correctly, nor is there any boosters except for the back attachments, and that's pretty late in the game. If you're doing a theoretical no-shop run, you're kinda limited because of that, and not in a way that makes for an interesting experience. And admittedly, I'm entirely glossing over arena rewards right now, and I barely recall what they give you, so maybe I'm really wrong on this one. Who knows, really? These corridors mark you being near the end of the mission. I really do like how they look, this overgrown tech-based vibe to it. It looks really, really cool to me. Reminds me of a Doom WoD that I played recently. I believe it's called Emerald City. I need to get back to that one. Alright, on that note, full disclosure. The second attempt coming up is not an S rank as I said earlier. I need to stress that it might be possible to get the S rank under these conditions and the follow-up mission, but I have not the will to go for it, as this mission just sucks in my eyes. I won't be commentating over it either, so feel free to skip ahead if you're not interested. I only did this to be thorough.
System engaged.
Rescue.
Incoming transmission. It's from Kisaragi.
Alright, hell yeah, I got out of doing 3 minutes of commentary. Woohoo! Only a B rank on that run, but again, I can't be asked. It's so boring to me. But with that out of the way, we can move on to Eliminate Bioweapon, a stranger mission. So with this mission, you want to bring a good radiator. Oh no, wait, you can't. You need to be on the lighter side to even get this mission. You don't get a chance to change anything at all. And clairvoyance is only available to the player in hindsight. Another mark in the game is really mean category. As this mission name implies, you fight bioweapons. And the default head is good enough to have a sensor for them, so you can actually lock on here. You fight these small little drones that are mad annoying and a giant slug at the end of the level. If you're quick enough, you get a bonus objective to backtrack to the start and fight a second slug the exact same way as the first. And you get to do all this with Declare playing in the background from AC3, a song that's not even present in Silent Line soundtrack. Excusing its lack of presence real quick. It's a really good song though. I'll say this one more time for good measure. I really do like Silent Line soundtrack. The way they mix motifs from the previous game into new songs is chef's kiss. You may not be able to see it, but I am pinching my fingers on this. While I'm on the topic of music though, here's something that never ceases to annoy me. Whenever a music album comes out and it doesn't credit the people who worked on it correctly. Take a look at this game for example. The 25th anniversary box set will let you believe that Kota Hoshino did every single song in Silent Line and across all 20 discs. That's just not true. They even put his name over the AC2 intro song, and that was done by a German guy who only did 2 songs in total and never collabed with From again. Trying to find out who did what is a right pain as well. Why can't we credit the minds behind each song instead of defaulting to the head of the band that they are in? It's not even a From or Japan specific thing either, the whole industry does it. Mind you, I've never bothered to verify this one, but my best friend claims that Taylor Swift is propped up by ghostwriters and does very little of her own stuff. I know offhand that Eminem wrote for Dre, but I readily admit that my knowledge of such things drops off a cliff in regards to the greater music industry. Safe state on that door, by the way. Before I go further with this enemy is ridiculous. When you come in the room, if you just stand still for a couple seconds, you'll just be melted instantly. You need to, as soon as you come in, dodge left or right to avoid having your Christmas ruined. They put in just enough ads that their attacks alongside the slug just kills you. So clear out the drones as soon as you can, and then just practice your blading on the side of the slug. You can do more damage if you shoot him in the eye. I don't go for that because I'm just risk adverse, really. Because he's a slug and a fat bastard, you can just slash the side of him with impunity here. Really good practice for doing air slashes, just coming down. And as long as you do it on the side like I'm doing here, you're not going to get a lock on and just fling yourself towards his face and potentially eat a laser. Your heat is also going to go crazy in this room too, because for whatever reason he heats up the area he's in when you're attacking him. It doesn't really amount to much, and I don't think it affects the S rank too badly. You don't take that much damage. The footage is going to show the bonus objective because I ended up clearing it quickly enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and skip a whole 2 minutes of backtracking. Just straight to the next guy. No save state on this door, I didn't know if this was going to go well or not. Second verse, same as the first. Destroy all the drones and then continue to slash the slug on its side once again. This is the reason why I sounded a bit irate earlier when describing this mission. It needed something else here. But I'll be a nice editor here. Since you've already suffered this once, I am going to give you the mall music the second time around, so enjoy. I don't like slugs anymore after this mission, gonna be honest. But for doing both parts quickly, you get the CODIS back attachment, you get 2 of them, and they're worth 100k each. Not that we need money anymore, but hey, it's there. Investigate Satellite. I like this level thematically. This mission is another reason why I say From just forgot this game exists. The S rank, by the way, is easy. Just go to the first objective and instantly head back for the time bonus, or defeat everything in the map. Both methods work. If you're defeating everything in the map, nothing in here is really particularly threatening. Just slash it, shoot it, whatever. Why I say From forgot. Silent Line states that we have the technology to send 40-foot-tall, 100-ton mobile murder fortresses into space and investigate a satellite installation that is by no means small. That's no small feat, pun intended. Nexus and Last Raven make zero mention of such endeavors, or any references to space technology as a whole. They ended up waiting until 4th gen to expand upon that idea. It makes me think at one point Nexus onwards was supposed to be a totally different generation. There's basically zero links from Nexus to 3 or SL outside of just the company names. Then again, that game doesn't even have mission briefings, and I'm the only schmuck that gave a shit about the plot once, so it probably comes down to laziness. Perhaps finally adding analog support was the thing that just nuked the budget. Who knows? One thing I do know is that I'm some autist on the internet that likes to overthink things. Let me return to music real quick. I just know that it irritates me when I see people not get the credit they deserve, because I keep local files of game music for my community streams, since that stuff is relatively safe from copyright, and songs from resamplers for my personal streams. They tend to not distribute the credit correctly, and I see it constantly in my foobar, and it drives me nuts. Best case scenario is I use copyright flags to work backwards and figure out what songs they took from what. I've been discovering some sick music that way, but it's not ideal. Just list the sources, man. Worst case is I play some game music and I get a strike because some German kid rapped over it and claimed copyright on SoundCloud. Why the hell can people even get away with shit like that? Not even small games either. One of Fear's songs had it happen in 2011, rest in peace Monolith by the way, great company. And a good amount of Soul Calibur songs as well. Namco isn't even a small company. Something really should be done about it. Fuck Tekken 8. I just had to include fuck Tekken 8. It just came out. Oh, that stays in. That's staying. There's no way. Oh, man. Anyway, these Armored Core projects started because I grabbed the converter on sale through Amazon. Since getting it and pulling out my old PS2 pad that was previously sitting on a shelf for almost 2 decades now, I've been filling out my library on the emulator. Legally, of course. Got Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 on there. 3+4 finally coming out soon. How sick is that? The first Zone of the Enders, I haven't played that in like 21 years. All 4 Ratchet & Clank games, Soul Reaver 2, Tekken 4, 5, and Tag 1, GTA 3 and Vice City, Agent Under Fire and Nightfire, you name it. Not God of War though, and Metal Gear. Those games have really large file sizes. Going through those games though made me realize that I had this perception that my PS2 library was always really, really vast. And it's just not the case. Turns out I had maybe 15 games in my childhood, and I bought another 40 in my adolescence and adult life. Kind of funny to think about in retrospect. Everything was so much larger when you were little. But since I've been checking out stuff on the PS2 again, I started revisiting Jak and Daxter on an open goal after I got done recording this project and in between voice work sessions. I've always been a big fan of Jak 2 and 3, so it's been like 22 years since I last played Precursor's Legacy. I never realized in my youth how much of Crash Bandicoot's DNA is in that game. The spin attack is almost 1-to-1 in the animation. I just never spotted it. I didn't forget how much the game likes to eat your jump input though. So much so that it's chalked it up the games of that time, instead of just a Jack issue. That recompile project made me realize just how wonderful that game is to look at. It's so colorful. The character models are quite handsome too, even today. I feel the lack of save states something fierce, but the high frame rate support is super appreciated. Even though it's a super rudimentary collectathon, I'm having a really good time with it. Enjoying it a lot, can't wait to get into Jack 2. I don't know why Jack 2 has 240Hz support and Precursor's Legacy doesn't on the project, but and I have to go back to this real quick. Playing Zone of the Enders 1 after playing the second game for 2 decades now, it's like looking into the Twilight Zone. I see all these things that I want to be doing, and I'm just going, please! Jyoti, why are you so hard to control? Leo, you fucking jobber! It makes me feel like I'm this small child piloting the most capable machine in existence and I'm totally unable to utilize it properly. Apropos for the second, I suppose. And I see all this other cool stuff that doesn't make it into the second game, like the semi-open world, the O'Neill cylinder the game takes place in, Antilia, I believe it's called. The architecture just looks really, really sick. Conceptually, everything's really, really cool to look at. But the game's mad short. It's only like 30 minutes long if you skip cutscenes. Hell, even the boss is a little bit more interesting to look at. We got Zakat in the second game, and you get to fight Tyrant really early on, and he looks mad sick. Wish we had more bigger orbital frames like that in the second game. And how is it that Shinkawa, just aping on Gundam, ends up making a game that gets a sequel that happens to be my favorite game of all time? And I get that game just out of sheer luck. I remember where I got that game too. It was at Kids R Us. At the time, my parents would go through any game they got me or I was interested in to see if it was appropriate for kids. The usual stuff, right? At launch, that game was M-rated for context. By some miracle, the copy we got had a scratch on the disc. And that prevented it from playing the scene where Dingo gets shot. Just skipped straight to Demo Station. Crazy, right? If it wasn't for that act of providence, I never would have gotten to fall in love with that game and giant robots as a whole. It's just crazy to think about. Also crazy to think about when I first saw that cutscene finally, and I was like, holy shit, that's there? When I got it for the HD collection on the PS3. Fuck that collection, by the way, it sucks. Don't get it anymore. Get Mars instead, better experience. Plus seeing Anubis' burst attack for the first time without it slowing down the game to a crawl, it blew my mind. It's absolutely gorgeous. I have no idea how the hell they managed to make those particle effects look as good as they did on the PS2. The hardware has no business rendering stuff like that. Ah, shit. This is supposed to be a video about Armored Core, and here I am gushing about Zone of the Enders. God damn it, man. I love that game. I could talk about it for years. Ugh. It's so good! Why hasn't we haven't gotten a mech game that's anything close to it? It still has degrees of freedom when it comes to its movement system that no other game has matched, and it's been 22 years at this point. Like, come on. Something has to change in the industry, man. It's like shooters, there's just fucking nothing there. It's starting to get to the point where I'm struggling to think of games that innovated in the space in the past, like, decade and a half or so. It shouldn't be like that. When was the last time we had this major hit? What was the last Call of Duty 4? Or Halo 3 that just changed the look of the genre entirely? It's been so long. Instead, the industry is just stagnating really heavily, and I know that's attributed to my burnout. But, that's the end of this mission, though. Oh yeah, before I forget, there was a hidden part on that mission that involved you exploring the entire map. I missed a room near the end. It's back high missiles. Next mission is Nightmare number 4, and this one is mandatory. This starts off with a red herring, giving you these choppers that you get more time than you need to kill. Even after they land, you still got time to blow them up before they set off their bombs. There's a hidden part under one of the helipads. You'll see it if you go counterclockwise. The terror is below your feet. If you don't turn off the AI, below is a circle of hell. It may very well be the hardest fight in the game. The guides say it's a very easy fight, not even worth remembering. Starter AC is the only restriction so far that I've seen that really highlights how bad this is. You fight the pilots Prominence and Apophis. Their character names are much more applicable here than their AC ones. Flip a coin on who you end up targeting first. Prominence runs energy pods on hover legs. He's an expert at chipping you down and is the more flashy of the two. If you try to gun for Apophis, the quad is sturdy enough that Prominence will chip you down enough to kill your rank. He's faster than you, and the damage adds up fast. Put him on heads. Apophis, like his namesake, spells Armageddon for our species if it gets in range. Dual flamethrowers on a quad that I'm not kidding takes you from full AP to 0 in under 2 seconds. This monster of a machine is without a doubt the most dangerous enemy in the game. Your one grace is that you're faster than him. When you go for Prominence, you need to dance around Apophis and pray it doesn't singe your feathers enough to murder your rank. Trying to blade him is a massive risk due to his arsenal, and he has enough ammo that time stops being an ally and you lose your rank. This one can be on tails. But suppose you throw a coin enough times. Suppose one day it lands on its edge. Recall what I said earlier about friendly fire? There's a third option, a monumental secret, Raziel, one that I'm more than happy to share. Normally, you try blading Prominence a few times and dump ammo into it before it goes down, then suffer against Apophis due to the lack of reserve munitions. However, if you get the hovercraft stuck against the wall and in one of the corners, and place yourself behind it, well, You can see the results of this firsthand. Apophis can do a flyby and burn prominence to cinders near instantaneously. This sounds simple on paper, but it took well over 6 hours to figure out. I don't know if I could replicate this again with anything resembling consistency. Afterwards, you have enough ammo to plank out Apophis until you shift its orbit and it passes by Earth harmlessly. Billions of lives saved. To my knowledge, I can say with a somewhat high degree of confidence that I don't believe anyone has posted executing this stratagem. Of course, it's possible that someone has, but that video is either entirely in Japanese or their channel is harder to find than mine. Even looking up starter AC restrictions, it only shows 2 videos. One has bits of OPI on, the other is legit and it was down to the last 100 AP. This fight's just brutal when you are forced to actually deal with it. You have no idea how hard it is until you attempt it. You just don't. On the other hand, casually it's just whatever. You can bring whatever you want and the ACs don't have that much AP, so they go down real quick. Here is the not a bonus part. You get it for, I'm not kidding, beating the final 2 ACs at the end of the mission. Something you have to do. Might as well be a mission reward at that point and not a hidden part at all. Oh, and the stealth missiles you get from under the helipad. On to test new technology. The only part that changes is the SRA-02, if you believe it or not. If you want the hidden back part, just go over here and feather your boost for about a minute. This should let you easily clear the first part and qualify for the part. Vintage tech, this one. Those boosters have a great argument for being the best back units in the game. Things are mad strong. This level marks the one time you see a massive MT in the campaign, and I don't even use the missile extensions on this one. S rank is the standard take a little damage and beat the level quickly kind of affair. I did mention shooters earlier though, didn't I? I don't think I've ever seen a genre of games fall down as hard as FPS has over the last 10 years or so. Everything must be a hero shooter now. Used to be Battle Royale before that. SBMM needs to be in every single game. If you don't like Counter-Strike style tac shooters either, you might as well be shit out of luck. I do know that Marvel Rivals has been popping off, and that's really cool to see. Blizzard needs someone else in that space to challenge them and end their complacency with how they've been supporting Overwatch over the years. Delta Force was the game I was hoping was going to be that thing that acts as filler between Battlefield releases, since 2042 was and continues to be an utter disaster. However, that game also sucks a fat one. Balance is just bizarre, the maps are some of the worst I've ever seen, there's bots posing as players in every lobby, Luna wall hacks still remained unnerfed, ELO MMR hell of a matchmaking system in a 32v32 game is just insanity on top of it all. I can't go back to Call of Duty. That's an SBMM nightmare of a curated 50-50 experience on top of 2 controllers in a room aimbotting each other. Can't play the old ones because they're riddled with security vulnerabilities. I really need to get Plutonium set up at some point. There's Halo, which used to be this industry titan at one point, but now it's so dead it came to PC, and Infinite is just a joke. But me and a friend of mine, Nick, have been playing this game called Polygon late at night when it gets off. It's a Battlefield clone with no vehicles or classes, and it's a one-man project pretty much. Has good mouse input on it, and the performance used to be really good, but got markedly worse with the last patch. Game's super cool. Sure, some parts of it drive me utterly nuts. The main one being it has less of a player base than I have subscriptions on YouTube, and the reload cancel windows are so late, you might have heard me screaming, "Load the gun!" a couple times off in the distance. But the gunplay is really fun in that game. But let's go exactly where you point. There's no spread to deal with. Aim is incredibly rewarded to the point where you can just beam people across the map with an AR if you're so inclined. There's not even any damage drop off to deal with. On the flip side, that game is one of the worst maps I've ever had the displeasure to play on, and you know it's the most popular. Sandstorm, it's called. I don't even want to fucking describe it. If you're curious, look up the video for it, and you'll understand why I loathe that map. And Polygon Dev, if you happen to be listening to this video, which is incredibly unlikely, but still, I just want to put that out there, please stop working on 2 games simultaneously, just focus on one. You're going to be split down the middle, and you're not going to get anything done for any of them. Just include some basic quality of life stuff. Allow us to squad up for randoms for the first time. Do an audio pass so we can tell when we're out of stamina when a grenade lands nearby. Delete the rocks on Valley. The amount of shitters that get stuck up there and it just stalls out the game is just ridiculous. And I know this is incredibly unlikely, but I have to wish for this anyways. Please just remove Sandstorm. That map fucking sucks. I'm pretty sure when they offer terrorists the option to get waterboarded or play on that map, they take the waterboarding because that map is that bad. Save state coming up here on the cutscene transition, by the way. Not because I had any difficulties with this, but more the emulator was starting to crash and I just had a gut feeling. Right there. So you probably don't know this, but you'll see a lot of footage of people going up and flying on top of the MT and then blading it that way or just shooting it. You don't have to do that. Blade tracking's really good and it doesn't take energy. So I'm going to do something a touch different here. We're just going to overboost towards it and then slash its side. It's gonna look ridiculous. This thing goes down like 4 slashes too. It is absurd. Like, look at this. Beautiful. You're down here, you're slashing it. It's just stunning. Immaculate even. That's the end of that mission. Really cool. I like the gimmick. I really do appreciate the fact that From went easy with the large MTs. Ulfame and that underwater squid was just really stupid and I did not like them whatsoever. And here's the stats on the wake if you're interested. Really strong part. So my notes and result for this level just read Nightmare! Repeated 30 times. My script says, Nightmares number 5 and 6 on this level. This mission is just utter fucking dog shit that is random as all hell, and why I say this game sucks under my breath sometimes. S rank requirements is the bog standard, take a little damage and do it as fast as possible. There's a couple reasons why this level sucks. The primary one being it's long as hell and it's a 3-parter and you do not get resupplied for any of them. The second being that this level has dedicated rooms filled to the brim with these small, remote-looking drones that just outright chunk you. They're insanely hard to hit, and they have enough AP to tank 2 shots from the XCW-90. Their spawns and placements are entirely random. The first room you encounter them in has them respawn infinitely, and you need to cross that room not once, but twice in order to progress. It's not even uncommon to boot up and attempt to run, only to lose over 1k AP to that one room. It's not even the nightmare either. I don't mean lose 1k AP for going in and out of that room, though. I mean for crossing it one way. Also, if you're trying to get the S rank, do not go for the bonus part in the crate maze, it just takes up too much time. I also don't recommend getting the head in the drone room because you just take so much damage as you're trying to grab it, it's not worth it. And since you see me cross that drone room, it didn't look like I took that much damage, but that took 25 attempts to get here. That's 25 attempts at restarting the entire mission, killing those first 2 MTs, flying through, praying to God that the overboost works. It's a kind of purgatory I wish I know one. Nightmare 5 starts on part 2. You get an escape sequence where you clear out in this room full of lasers. Think the RE4 laser hall, but for giant stompy robots, no sick-ass QTE, and generally quite shit. These lasers, if you touch them, chunk the daylights out of you. You're semi-timed because your consort is also taking damage until you shoot out the panels on the wall that you cannot lock onto either. I swear there might be something to do with her AP and your rank, but that's speculation on my part. Oh look, I got mad lucky, but I still lost over 1,000 AP just for entering and exiting that one goddamn room. Why does it even exist? It's just nonsense. Like, I legit want to know what was said when quality control took a look at that room. It not only makes no logical sense, but it's just incredibly anti-player. There can be more going on to a challenge than just adding something that serves no purpose other than to piss you off. Kinda like how these 2 units are nailing you in the middle of a transition screen and they can void a no damage run incredibly easily and you have no input on the matter. Like, just imagine all the casual playthroughs that saw them die in that room because they didn't notice it's one of 2 rooms in the entire game with infinite respawns. It'd be fine if those respawns were delayed, like an AC3's destroyed computer, but no, it's just a constant swarm of those bastards. Fuck this laser room, by the way. It could suck my dick backwards. I absolutely hate shooting these panels and having to do this, like, weird jiggle in order to hit them. There's no planet that I'm gonna fly over there and just risk getting clipped by any of them, especially when you don't have a safe state on that. It's just stupid. There is a safe state coming up on the door because there just has to be. And take a look at this shit. When you're coming up to the end of it, they have an extra laser when you open the door. Like, why? If you wait a second, you should see it just up ahead. That stupid fucking thing from the ceiling has nailed me 3 or 4 goddamn times. It's just there to piss you off. Absolutely fucking mean. Alright, this is the reason why this is Nightmare 5. You gotta do everything before this, then hunker down in this room for an amount of time while dodging the drones that spawn in. You can't get lower than 7k if you want to fight the AC at the end. He's Nightmare number 6 because of that. There's no pattern to be had here. I ran the save state hundreds of times on a dozen different attempts. The only consistency was where the first drone spawned on those saves. Your best recourse is to plant your back to a wall between the spawn ducts and pick a god to pray to. Since you can't one-shot them and they move so quickly, they are nightmares to track, and if you let them start moving around, you've already lost your rank. This is just pure chance. It has nothing to do with you. If you get a spawn far away from you on your side of the wall, or God forbid directly behind you, the 2 seconds it takes to adjust and deal with it has the situation spiral out of control. If you can't keep your AP above 7k here, say goodbye to any real chance of fighting that AC at the end. Just stab the core and pray once again you don't get shot for doing so. That is also entirely random, and if it hits you while you're under 6k AP, once again, your rank is gone. I have no idea how I even managed to hit this core without getting nailed by this dude's laser gun. I just took like chip damage and it was just mad lucky. Absolute insanity. But try fighting this guy with only 2k effective AP. He jumps around a ton and he's damn near impossible to stab. That is Nightmare 6. I can't be asked. I already have one thing that's equivalent to double grad in this video. I don't need a second. Fuck that level and fuck whoever made it. It doesn't even look impressive either gaining an S rank under these restrictions. It just looks stupid. But now we can move on to a good level, being Disable Satellite Cannon. These 2-minute or so missions are the perfect length. You just go in, get out, and it's just long enough that leaves you wanting more. Brevity is seriously underappreciated in games these days. There's too much focus on padding out playtime and making every experience a 30+ hour affair when the game gets dull at the 5-hour mark. Those Call of Duty games on the 360? No, not you Call of Duty 3, you could fuck off permanently. Hit the sweet spot of 2 to 5 hour campaigns. Whenever a game pads out its runtime, like Witcher 3 just off the top of my head, it's an utter chore to replay that game. Look at Stalker 2, that game came out last year. I didn't stream it, but it took over 100 hours to beat. I can easily say 90 of those hours were spent running around in an empty open world. After seeing how all the old maps connected, lost its luster, that was one of the most boring games I played this decade. Too much of a good thing is a saying for a reason, you know? As for this mission, S-ranking it can be frankly done on accident. I think From might have put the soft time limit way too high here. You could take a serious beating and still manage to get it. If you keep Shade alive, you get a bonus part. It's not the hardest thing in the world either. Just let him take aggro from the AC at the very end. When he does, go in and shank the thing in the back and steal its shoes. I've noticed the voice acting on this mission is atrocious as well. At some point I want to mess around with that undub patch that's floating about. Mix things up a little, you know? Save state on this load screen. I looked at it for this, but then it said I needed this tool to apply to the ISO file, and I was just looking at it and going, fucking hell, this sounds complicated. I'm just not going to do that. While we're in this room, why the hell does this AC have the stealth unit extensions? Just losing your lock randomly and there's no feedback as to why? I'm like, what the hell is this? At least like show FCS jams or something in the message log, like any kind of feedback. Instead you just sit there going, is my game glitched? The game's glitched type shit. That's just not fun to think about. Here I get mad lucky, the AC gets stuck on the corner, I get a whole bunch of blade hits in that I normally don't. And you can see how much damage I've taken, it's just an absolute beating. It's ridiculous. Still manage the S rank though. But after the AC's done, you have to shoot these generator things, I don't know what these are. But they all fucked off and died, the end, GG. I think I could say this is my second favorite mission in the game. I always enjoy playing it. Now we can move on to Nightmare 7. This one's optional. For this footage, I ran around with the S6010. In order to make that happen, I downgraded my generator to the VE905 and downgraded my boosters to the Gull. I also put on the SRA-02. For this mission, there's a bonus fight at the end involving 2 ACs. If you want to get it, you need to destroy a large amount of NTs. I believe it's 8 in under 100 seconds. If you want to attempt that fight under these restrictions, here's my advice for you. Don't. The S rank does not require you to fight them, just go slow and you don't have to think about this mission again. Here's why that bonus fight sucks. Since you need to destroy 12 MTs rapidly, you can't hold a view angle and stop one group of them from spawning. If the advanced MTs move about, they're great at nailing you with their laser rifle and you need every drop of AP possible. Every unit in the level takes 5 hits to put down. You should run a good small missile here with ammo in reserve and spread out the damage as much as you can between your ammo pool. 3 shots per enemy, 2 missiles to finish them off. The heavyweight MT's unarmed phase goes down to 2 missiles and 3 shots. Assuming you don't miss a single time, you are left with a little over 40 rounds and maybe 5 missiles if you're lucky for the ACs. One of them is a tank armed with lasers, and they all chunk you, and he's a mobile bastard, so good luck stabbing it, and he has his own blade. The other is a bipod armed with a standard rifle and a blade, who jumps around a bunch and hard lands all the time. He just rapidly chips you down. I would be remiss in not mentioning this, but the tank jumps around a bunch as well, but since he's a tank, he doesn't get hard landings. If you try blading him as he lands, he can just cancel the recovery frames and stab you at will. Both of them can do this as they land, by the way. You can't have less than 5k AP for the S rank. Time is the enemy, so you can't separate the two and blink at them. You don't even have enough ammo to blink at them, and they both have AMS, so saving your missiles is a no-go. Because of the way both of them move around, trying to blade either of them is an absolute fucking shit show. You can't run the bipod's ammo down, since he's not like Fanfare and Investigate Magna Ruins. He only shoots when he's in range and has a lock. The way both of them move together makes setting up a friendly fire situation a fucking chore. The presence of a blade on each of them makes the stab a toss-up on whether or not you both trade damage, and you will always be on the losing side of that due to the rank requirement. I put 3 hours in trying to figure out a method to beat those two. Nothing materialized. Since that's my cutoff for optional bullshit I'm willing to put up with, I just omitted those two and claimed it's out of this project's scope. Frankly, I think that fight is worse than Double Grad if you don't know the clap opening. I know that it is since it has such a long encounter leading up to them, and mad tricky to do without taking some kind of damage. The save state's the only thing that makes it attempting it bearable, and it's incredibly difficult to land every single shot and not miss a single time because you need every single drop of damage possible. It's just the way these MTs move about that just makes it mad easy to miss, and your ammo pool is not very large. And because the S rank is so strict when it comes to damage taken, and you have to kill a large amount of them rapidly, you're not incentivized to use your blade at all here. You're pretty much forced to use your munitions on these guys. Dare I say, with these restrictions, you're set up for failure. Once again, I'm sure it's possible. Someone out there is probably mad enough to attempt it in earnest. I just don't see a point getting stuck here for over a week attempting something that's not truly even a part of the challenge run. AC3 had a level like this, distract Union defenses that I skipped, where you just had to endure several minutes of getting nailed by missiles from jets. So this is not even the first time this has happened. Maybe as its own separate video a year from now when I've become more detached from this project, I'll attempt it again. It's just that damned bipod, man. You sit in range of it for 2 seconds and you lose 1k AP when you can barely afford to get hit at all. The best part about all this is the guides online say this mission's brain dead easy. Just use a Kurosawa and a back chain gun on a quad, 5-head. One video even says they have almost no AP and barely move. What a crock of shit that is. Try stabbing one of these fuckers and see how much it jukes you. Guarantee you'll change your tune real fast. It has to be because at range they just try to drive towards you and they're kind of slow and people just assume that, oh, they don't move that much. It's just not the case. It really isn't. Even here in this example, if I were to happen to get the 2 ACs at the end of this fight, I can't kill those 2 ACs with only 41 rounds, it can't be done. And both those ACs are actually quite stocky considering they can take like 5 or 6 moonlight slashes. I swear, motherfuckers are just carried by Op Intensify and the Kurosawa in this game, you cannot convince me otherwise. Right, destroy Power Core. Longest mission in the game, and the most poorly designed in the game. Says something, really. Those dumbass drones are back, and it's every other room this time around. No infinite respawns, but fuck me. Just getting out of the first room with a reasonable amount of damage taken took entirely too long. You know the designer was having a bad day when he put him on the other side of these doors, then basically forced you to go in the room with them just to get chipped down by their nonsense. Thankfully, the S rank is fairly generous, I want to say. It seems you can take around 15k damage before you start gaining A ranks. You get an AP refill part way, and no concessions are made to not add dumb bullshit between you and the end. So you're gonna end up seeing a lot of this, just juking outside a door trying to avoid damage as much as you can. I'm sure it's utterly riveting to watch. You wanna know what was riveting though? Capcom Cup 11 that happened last weekend. Seeing that 14-year-old Blas play Ryu in Grand Finals is utterly inspiring. Kakaru was also playing out of his mind as well. That guy's defenses are like one in a generation. Just unreal. Imagine the stones you need to have the EXDP out of a corner in a $900,000 money match. It's just unfathomable. What a sick set. Only for Capcom to turn around at the end and close the cup with 0 announcements. Now, I am of the belief that SF6 needs a major balance pass. The game is just stale at this point in my eyes. I'm no pro, I'm just a washed up has-been who never was. But 2 years now of Drive Rush being as powerful as it is makes the game incredibly dull to me. It was cool at first, figuring out how to use it to extend combos, but now it's just normal Drive Rush into Jab OS, EXDP OS against that, and endless plus frames into throw mix that you just have to hold. It's like you need to eat a V-trigger activation every 3 seconds. I really dislike the shift Drive Rush does to neutral. Doing it raw is too strong, yes, but now there's a general lack of commitment to throwing out normals in the open and confirming them, since generally it leads to the only reliable plus on block interaction you can enforce. No longer do people buffer specials behind low forward, for instance, and commit to gain a small knockdown into Oki mid-screen, when you can just Drive Rush instead and get a mix on block or a full combo on hit. Hell, Oki in general is murdered from Drive Rush. There's no frame change or quick rise and back roll anymore, and Drive Rushing covers both options at all ranges. The game just becomes this hyperfixation on managing your drive meter. Throw loops need to go as well. The way they were handled in late 5 was far more interesting than what we have right now. Being walk-up throw was too short to be in range, but normals could cover the rest of the distance and be plus, and dash-up throw was fake at -4s, so you could do it to people every once in a while and be cheeky. With how volatile the game is currently, with 60% damage routes available to basically everyone at will, it exasperates how frustrating that game is to play when you whiff a throw. Parry is just this goofy-ass mechanic to justify whack 50-50s that don't even really exist in the game currently, and to make projectiles worse as per Capcom's modus operandi these past 15 years. Perfect parry leading into a hard knockdown or full-scale combo done as an anti-air is just fucking whack. Make anti-airs better instead of giving every scrub a frame 1 anti-air option to abuse. Drive reversal is alright though, I guess. It's just a shittier V reversal but slower and worse on block but doesn't lose the throws. Bet it's there because Capcom wants to add more characters that have no reversal. Great idea though. The whole game needs work. It needs like a series of nerfs at this point. Characters need to stop being buffed. Speaking of things that need nerfs, what the fuck is this room? They just lock you in a shoebox with these MTs that have shotguns attached to them and they spawn in groups of 4? Like what the fuck is this, man? The only tech here is standing on one of these MTs and make it sets of 3 you must deal with instead of 4, and standing in one of the corners in such a way that provides you a small modicum of cover against the other side of the room. What a dog shit arena to be forced into. It's not even one wave you need to deal with either. There's at least 16 of these buggers you need to blow up. Your AP is typically low at this point. You don't want to blade them and eat a shotgun on the approach. This encounter is just lazy padding. What does this even add to the level? It's not like there's a full refill and resupply not 2 doors away. Did the budget run out at the final hour or something? Did the lead level designer get smacked in the face by an asteroid on his commute to work? This is the kind of quality I'd expect from a high schooler modding his favorite game for the first time. Not a studio who's 7 games into a series by this point. Oh, and by the way, they're so fucking lazy. Save state on this load screen. They did it not once, but twice! Except now you have absolutely no fucking ammo, and you're gonna have to blade these guys and just take the damage. Great design, I guess. Have some goddamn restraint, for fuck's sake. Excuse my French. But why can't we have a simple change to raw drive rush to intercept as a punish counter instead of counter hits? Have your hurt box extend while you do it too. That alone would stop people from just blatantly over-relying on Drive Rush to do literally anything at all. Kill that shit working on low forward while we're here. The whole game shouldn't be you fighting a good Karen player in SF5. As it is, having normals change your hurt box as you slide across the screen is just obnoxious. System Mechanic Fighter 6 right now. If you like how that game plays, good on you. I hope you get to enjoy that game for its full lifespan. I just can't do it. Part 2 of this level, on the other hand, is like Whiplash with the quality difference. You get 5 minutes on the clock, regardless of how fast or slow you were, and a full refill of AP and ammo. Going forward is far less obnoxious, the laser drones are not placed smack dab in front of the doors, and I swear this area ripped off MGS4. When you're running through that long hallway in Shadow Moses with all those gecko, it just really looks like that to me. It does suck that I don't like Street Fighter right now. I used to be a Tekken player for a very long time, but Tekken 8 went out of its way to aggressively combat what I liked about that series. Now it's this flashy, over-the-top meter game with Force 50/50s and armor everywhere. Small Tekken might as well be dead. I'm not holding out on that game to be good either. With how 7 got progressively more belligerent as its lifespan went on, to the game-breaking DLC, the anti-consumer communications with the devs on Twitter, looking at you, Harada. For years we complained about how the rollback in 7 sucked ass and all we got was Tekken is 3. And don't even get me started on Murray's deleted tweet of if you know Hell Sweep is coming, just block and punish it like everything else. And I hate the fact that there's some reductive history going on and he just claims it never happened. It did, it's on the internet, no one forgets. To the patch notes coming out as an image in fucking wingdings. I need to touch on that briefly. Namco is, again, not a small company. The fact that the English notes were in wingdings implies that either that studio is so disorganized that dumb shit like that can slip through the cracks and their competence is in question, or several people in multiple positions put eyes on that document and they okayed it anyways, and that company is just outright malicious towards its foreign player base. Either way, it's incredibly bad optics. Soul Calibur, on the other hand, got full, complete sentences, actual legible numbers to read, and general thoughts on why they changed the things that they did. So clearly it's just the Tekken studio and not Namco as a whole. But that studio just clearly does not understand their own product. All these things combined make me have less than zero faith in that studio. I won't wait for Tekken to get good a decade from now. I don't even know if I'm going to be alive 7 years from now. Never mind if I even care about video games anymore by that point. Life is too short to have Stockholm over games you don't even like. I just rather do other things with my spare time instead. My heart goes out to all the Tekken players who don't like that game but keep playing it because there's nothing else like it. It just blows since all my fighting game friends are going to majors and having a great time, and I can't justify spending $50,000 and over to go out to them when I have no game to play and no investment in the competitive circuits. It's just too expensive to set up a 3-day social gathering like that. Hell, I go to my locals less now because the games are in such a shit state. Online has gotten so good it's killed the social aspect of fighting games, but the games in turn also went to shit, so it's just bad all around. Can't return to Guilty Gear. Strive might be the most offensive game I've ever played. Granblue single-handedly spiked crime rates in low-income fighting game households with how much it pissed people off, and fuck it, ArcSys games as a whole are made by a clown car of hippos who have no idea what game balance even means. I hold no pity for the people locked inside that ecosystem. You chose that fate. I'd rather play fucking ST and Third Strike over any of those games. And both those games fucking suck. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Did you know there's a Great White at the end of this mission? So here's the 7th nightmare of this game, and it's psych, just Nocturne, so you know what that means. Man, Dead Rising Mall music is single-handedly carrying me through all the boring bits of this game. Those songs have no reason to be as catchy as they are. Absolutely goated. And now, here we are. The final level of the game, with an estimated 1% success rate if the loading screen is to be believed. You can't tell me the architecture in this level is not unused assets from AC2. You just can't. The look of these hallways is so utterly divorced from the rest of AC3's art style. Same with the controller's hub, really. It would match the alien aesthetic they were going for at the end of AC2, something that they hinted at with Phobos being this super base made by extraterrestrials, only for that plot point to go exactly nowhere. But this mission can be Nightmare 8 if you want it to be. Just fight both Great Whites. The first one's Moby Dick 3, Rise of the Machines, and that movie sucks, so just skip it. Hell, it took until AC6 for the series to return to space, and that game it's only really implied and showed in cutscenes and backdrops. They don't even reference parts made from different planets or different companies. Everything's localized entirely to Rubicon 6. I wish I could like that game more than I do. It looks so cool, but plays so poorly it just disappoints me. It's literally just Sekiro and build a combo. It sucks. And all the missions have so little things to shoot. How does that happen? You know, I put the serial number in my All Mine video for Armored Core 6, and not a single person noticed it. How sad is that? But picture this though, an Armored Core game with legitimately diverse environments. You could easily justify it by having you visit different planets and really go in on dealing with how the biomes and weathers influence your AC. Maybe what I'm asking for is really just a mech warrior game not made by Piranha, but damn can a man dream. And no, I'm totally not standing here and moving around the way I am on this elevator to prep a save state that I never use. You can't prove that. You have no evidence. Someone please take away Piranha Games' right to that series. Just stop mishandling it with a shit online game and a slop single-player procedurally generated experience that lacks even a hint of crafted design. A good story and a bunch of cinematics is not what that series needs. I may be 9 years removed from playing the online game at this point and several years out from playing 5, but I'm not going to dig through that again just so I can hate on it all over again. Alright, here's Great White 4, Salvation. It's at least a decent enough movie to watch and heckle at. Getting to see more conflict post-Judgment Day just ruins the allure of the few scenes we get in the first movie. It's meant to be something you only glimpse at, like Sephiroth and FF7. You see too much of it, it just becomes stale. Alright, hold on, what the fuck? Nah, there's no way, that can't be right, hold on. Go here. So starts here. Swing is done. And that sword is active for 37 frames after the animation's finished. Huh. I see. Well, that's just fucking stupid. And you wonder why I say that unit cheats. Bah. But you're supposed to chase after Sephiroth in that game, only seeing him being built up off screen and dealing with the aftermath of his actions. When he's on screen constantly, that mystique just evaporates. It really bugs me that with those remakes. But on the topic of Terminator, that 2D game that got announced recently looks really cool. It's supposed to play like Contra, to my understanding? Can't wait to put my hands on that game. We need more BattleTech action games, man. Those Mech Assault titles on the original Xbox were super cool. Sure, they were as far removed from the tabletop rule set as you possibly could get, but their core gameplay loop was still really solid. And giant robots pulling the crap out of each other is hard to mess up. Those mechs look fantastic in those games as well, oh my god. The way they rendered the blood asp, ooh, it gets my dick hard. Final boss, Ibis, no relation to the one in AC6. Design-wise, this boss is really interesting. Appearance-wise, it looks like a black 9-ball Seraph from another age. It has this adaptive AI system built in where it changes up its tactics depending upon your build and how you fight it. The only problem is that it lacks sufficient AP to take advantage of that programming. With how durable this thing is, it might as well be made out of wet tissue paper. In the footage, I'm going around pecking at it with a laser rifle, basically broadcasting, hey, I'm a Battlefield Forum dad who snipes all day, come stab me in the gut before getting it low enough to close in on it. At least, that's the general idea with it. Who knows if that worked out or not. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the design room when they did this one. That AI is way too much work to put in just a kneecap with such a low health pool, and a resupply at the start of the room to boot. Maybe they forgot to add a zero and they just went with it. Lord only knows. Interestingly, the model is about twice the size of your AC and stays grounded for a good bit, so, you know what that means. And that marks the end of Silent Line. I'm gonna let the cutscene play out. I will see you after the credits.
Disconnecting. Reverting to safe mode. Main system shutdown. XA26483. My function is complete. Red. The rest is up to you.
Can you hear me? Raven, please copy. Over.
So yeah, Silent Line under Ship of Theseus. You can see here the list of the S rank on the final mission. My thoughts are that this game's kind of rough. It's not as good as AC3, but it was still pretty enjoyable. There's a lot of pain points in it. The game's really mean in a lot of areas, and it just doesn't need to be. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I still don't know if I'm going to do Last Raven or not under these restrictions. It's not looking good. But thank you for giving me some time in your day, and I'll see you Starside.